what's up guys, this is Z here. Welcome back to Yugioh deck of the day. Today we have an updated version of the Dragonmaid deck. I've done so many rocket versions of this deck that utilize, of course, the cards like Savage and all the guard dragons, but I wanted to focus on a more pure version this time, just because I know that a lot of people do not like mixing the dragon decks with pretty much rockets every single time. So this deck is for you guys. This is a more pure Dragonmaid deck. I think it's more fun than the rocket versions, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can combo without using any cards like Quick Launch or Racer to end on Savage and stuff like that. And of course, I'm not using Needle Fiber because I said I'm not using this version. So this is a purest version of the deck you can have. It has LP in the deck, which unfortunately might get banned in the next list, but as long as we have it, we're going to use that. So before we begin, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming videos. And now let's get to the deck profile. So to start off with the main deck, we have 3 copies of Kitchen. Kitchen Dragonmaid is pretty much your best normal summon. You want to see her when because she sends another Dragonmaid from the deck to the grave. I think the summons that give you access to more Dragonmaids in the graveyard are better than Chamber, because Chamber is a card that you don't really get to do anything with if you start with her, because she doesn't give you access to a second copy of a Dragonmaid. Yes, you can use cards like Hospitality to go into Spheres, but this is the most mediocre play you can possibly do. So I think being able to go into Kitchen and Parlor is much better, and then you can use their effects, send Chamber to the grave, then bring back the Chamber to get one of your fusion spell, your Hospitality, so you can get more options to the field. And of course, with that theory, we play, of course, 3 copies of Parlor. Parlor sends any Dragonmaid card from your deck to the grave, so you can not only send your big Dragonmaids, but you can send your spells and traps, and your fusion spell recycles itself from the grave by returning one of your Dragonmaids from your field to your hand. Also, the new trap that we got is actually a really good card for this deck. If you want to play pure, I think this is the greatest addition to the deck because it has a grave effect as well, so using with Parlor, you can use its grave effect. So Parlor has a lot of synergy, and Parlor and Kitchen tag out into level 8 Dragonmaids. Next, we have 2 copies of Chamber. Like I said, I don't really think you should max out on this because you do not want to normal summon it. You want to either special summon from the deck by using the effect of your LP, or you want to send to the grave with your Kitchen or your Parlor and then bring it back by using your Hospitality on one of your a lot revival spells you have in the deck. So you play a lot of normal summons anyway, so I think maxing out can clog your hands. Don't have a way to get to another Dragonmaid, because if it's the only thing you have, then you can't really do much. You need to have it along with a high level Dragonmaid so you can go into Shu. So I think you don't need to play more than 2. I also recommend playing 2 copies of Nurse, because Nurse is your revival play. This is probably the card you're going to be getting with your Heavenly Spheres most of the time, just because Heavenly Spheres gives you recovery, it gives you follow-up, and by summoning Nurse you get more advantage, because if you summon Nurse, you bring out another one from the grave, then you tag them both out for level 7 and level 8 Dragonmaid, and then you have Nurse to normal summon for the following turn, so you can summon another one from the grave and keep doing the same thing. This deck can seem like it's going minus during the early stages of the game because you use a lot of cards in order to do plays, but it starts grinding out by tagging out Dragonmaids. So don't think that this deck is actually bad because you see them using a lot of cards to end on like 2 or 3 interruption boards and then they have nothing in the hand. Once they start interrupting with Heavenly Spheres and Shu, then you can just get back all your advantage. For the big Dragonmaids, I am maxing out on Ernus because Ernus gives you more access to your hand. You draw a lot of Dragonmaids, you can unclog your hand, you can discard her, special summon a low-level Dragonmaid from your hand. This is also a quick effect, so you can catch your opponent off guard with it and defend, or you just start the battle phase, use this, special summon something, then tag out, get a big monster on field. She has a lot of utility and she's by far the best big Dragonmaid. I'm playing 2 copies of Tinker because she can catch your opponent off guard with her boosting effect. She boosts the Dragonmaid by 2000 as a quick effect, and the level 8 Dragonmaids are not that great, but if you're playing pure, you have to play a lot of them because you're relying on fusion summoning Shu early, so you need to play a lot of high-level Dragonmaids because you cannot rely on cards like Red as Darkness Metal because that card is still at 1, so you need to have high-level dragons in your hand. And I play 1 lower part. This card I will actually add only when my opponent has already established a field, because you can summon your Kitchen, add her, discard something else, and then you can use her effect, target your opponent's monster, and it cannot activate its effect for the rest of the turn. So it has a decent effect, but it's not for going first, and since you want to go first, this card does not provide much, and unfortunately it's not a quick effect, so it's not disruption. So Thinking is actually a little bit better because you can make your Dragonmaid survive a battle while this card doesn't offer it. I'm of course playing the 1 Red as Darkness Metal because I think this card is insane, especially in this deck because you can revive your fusion monster, so you can have more interruption, and the more you can keep metal on the field, the more advantage you can get. It's not like something that you use for a combo and then just you'll never use it again. You want to keep this card on the field for as much as possible so you can keep getting more advantage. For the hand traps, play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Standard. You can play Gamma if you want, but the problem with this deck is that it doesn't have anything good that you can Gamma on your own turn. You have to start with something like a Hospitality, and your opponent needs to Ash this in order to use your Gamma during your own turn, but I don't think a lot of people will do that because if you already have your Hospitality, that means you already have a normal summon, so you don't want to waste your Hospitality on your normal summon. You want first normal your Kitchen or your Parlor, and then Hospitality, the one you send with their effects. So it's a big minus just to try to Gamma on your own turn, so I don't think you need to play that. For the spells, play Force 3 Dragonmaid Hospitality. This is the best spell in the game for this deck because it has everything. It's a a Monster Reborn, it summons from the hand, and it's also Foolish Burial. This card does everything for the deck. You send your Dragonmaids for deck to the grave, you can recycle this card with a lot of ways, you can search it with your chamber. This card is insane. This is the grind game of the deck with Nazari because you can just bring back. And the cool thing is that you can bring back your fusion monster. And the fusion monster is an Omni Negate that gives you another monster on the field and also revives something. This is why I said this deck might seem at the early stages of the game that it uses a lot of resources for no reason, but then you will see that it starts getting back all of these resources and eventually it outgrinds you by getting so many cards out of the grave that you will not be able to deal with them. And it's not grind deck like the old school grind decks, because we've seen decks like Sky Striker, we've seen decks like Altergeist. These decks, yes, they can outgrind, they can get a lot of advantage, but they kind of struggle with dealing a lot of damage. This deck does not have this problem. This deck can OTK you out of nowhere because it has such a big monster that you can just bring back more and more and you just beat down your opponent with it. For the one-offs, we play one Changeover. Changeover is the fusion spell. You can send this your Parlor and then you can bounce a Dragonmaid from your field to your hand to get this back from the grave. It also doesn't fuse only Dragonmaid monsters, which is good because you can summon another monster lying in the deck, and this card can also be searched with Chamber. And in the pure version, I'm playing this card because I was not playing it in the Rocket version, but in a deck like this, Dragonmaid Welcome is actually really good because it helps you outgrind your opponent, and even more because you keep this on the field, you can just keep every turn keep adding Dragonmaid cards from your grave to your hand, and this is great because you can keep adding out your Hospitality and then bring back more and more monsters. Also, if you try to go for game, you can send this from your deck to the grave with your Parlor, and the turn this card is sent to the graveyard, your opponent will not be able to target your Dragonmaids, so this is another great effect that this card has. Also, it boosts your monsters by 100 for each different attribute that can come up. I play a lot of revival spells because I'm playing Dragonmaids. You need to be able to bring back the monsters you send with your Kitchen and your Parlor, so I'm maxing out on World Legacy Guard Dragon, because if you summon your Kitchen or your Parlor, you send your Nurse, then you link away, then you bring back your Nurse, and Nurse will bring back the one you linked away, so you already get 3 monsters, and then you can start doing more plays because of cards like Almirage and LP, because you can manipulate the markers, and you don't need to see World Legacy Guard Dragon to go into LP, because there's a link monster that helps you do that, so you don't need to move your LP. That's another good thing. And in the topic of revival spells, of course, Monster Reborn and one Foolish Burial. I could play Dragon Shrine too, but Foolish Burial is just pretty much the same thing. There is nothing the Dragon Shrine does better than this. If you want to play more cards that send to the grave, you can also run Dragon Shrine, but I don't think it's necessary. And for the traps, we play the new card that came out in Rise of the Duelist, Dragonmaid Tiding. This card is so good. It's basically a bounce for any card that also has a revival effect in the grave. So you can bounce any dragon, not just Dragonmaids, but usually you want to bounce Dragonmaids because you get more advantage with that, and then you bounce one of your opponent's cards, and while it's in the grave, you can banish it to special summon a Dragonmaid from your grave in defense. You can also special summon from the hand, but usually you will be special summoning from the grave. And this is another card that can revive your fusion monster. That's why this deck is so good, because you fuse and then you can negate, and if your opponent gets rid of the fusion monster, you can just bring it back immediately and do it all over again. And this card is insane. You can even send a Parlor if you need a Monster Reborn effect right away. This card is really good. I am playing one Dragonmaid Downtime. This card helps you control backrow decks. Also, it helps you get more advantage every turn. It's basically a spoofing, but not quite, because you need to bounce your Dragonmaids and then you can either search or you can bounce one of your opponent's back row, so it has that effect as well. So during your opponent's end phase, if they have a lot of back row, you can just return one from the field to their hand, then try it again during the next turn and start forcing those negations. So this is why this card is really good against decks like Altergeist and Subterror. Also helps you search any Dragonmaid card, not just Dragonmaid monsters, so you can, that's another way you can search your Hospitality. And the last card in the main deck is Three Infernace, rounding out the hand traps, total of 9. I think that's pretty good. If you want, you can play Gamma. If you want, you can play Nibiru. The hand traps in your deck pretty much have to do with whatever you're facing, so I cannot tell you exactly what to run there, but you have to adapt whatever your opponents use. For the extra deck, we have 3 copies of House Dragonmaid. You need to max on House Dragonmaid because of the fusion monster. You need to have 1 in your extra deck in order to be able to use Fuse effect to negate, and then by summoning your house, you can just start popping cards and bring more cards back from the grave. So this is another good way to control your opponent's board. And house is the way you can clear boards very easily with this deck, and then you can just have house with 2 big Dragonmaids, and that's pretty much game. You play 1 Dragonmaid shoe. Just need 1 because, like I said, this card is recyclable with a lot of ways. You can bring it back with Hospitality, you can bring it back with your Tiding, and also with its own effect. If it negates, it doesn't tribute itself, it goes back to the extra deck, so you can use its effect again. So it's an Omni Negate that gives you your House Dragonmaid on the field. Also, during the standby phase, you can special summon a Dragonmaid from your grave, so you can get more advantage this way, which is why I said this deck gives a lot of advantage after having used all of its resources in the hand and then start getting everything back. So this is why you need to play just 1, because it recycles itself, and if your opponent deals with it somehow, you can just bring it back with one of your anyway. I play 1 Borreload Furious Dragon because I mentioned that Dragonmaid Changeover doesn't only future summon Dragonmaids, it fuses summon dragons. So if you fuse cards like your Metal or your LP and Pisty, you can summon your Furious and have another interruption on the field. For the Link monsters, I play 1 Striker Dragon, not in this version because I don't play the Wood Sector Launch, I don't play in this version, but this card is still good enough, play even without having the card that it searches, mainly because it's a dragon that you can link 1 and then you can bring back the one you linked away, so you can get more plays and you can go into Heavenly Spheres. And this is something that you need in this deck because you have a lot of revival effects, so you need to be able to bring back the one you linked away with Nurse because you sent that with Parlor or your Kitchen most likely. We have, of course, LP and Pisty. I don't know how long knowing how much longer we're gonna have LP in the game. But like I said, if you have her, we're gonna use her in the dragon decks. And it's something that I have. I was trying to cut just to make it as pure as possible, but they just give you so much in any dragon deck that it's impossible to cut them completely. Maybe we'll be forced to eventually, but still, I think these cards are really good. Even in a pure version, I think play them. Next, we have one Almiraz. Almiraz is good because of its link arrow and because of its materials. So first of all, its link arrow is pointing to the right, so you can summon your LP there, and then you can link your Almiraz with another monster, summon the next monster I'm going to show you, and then you can have LP's effect be live. Also, you can just link away any of your Dragonmaids because they have low attack, they have less than 1000, they're all 500, so you can summon this and then you link climb Crossroads Dragon, which is pointing down, so now you have a monster pointing down and an LP that you summon to the right, so then you can use LP's effect immediately without even having to use a card like World Legacy Guard Dragon to move your LP. Play 2 Heavenly Spheres. You need to play 2 in this deck because it gives you a lot of grind game. You're going to go to 2 pretty much every game. There are games that I've missed a 3rd one even, but it doesn't happen too often, but still this card is really good because it's a disruption. This is your out to Dragoon because Dragoon is the bane of everyone's existence and also gives you follow-up by summoning your Nest from the deck. And for the generics, play 1 Phoenix, 1 Bakra, 1 Unicorn to link climb, and 1 Boral Sword. Go for even more TKs because it's very easy to spam a lot of monsters. So yeah, that's the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. It's a really fun deck. If you're looking for a pure version, here it is. We have a lot of Rocket versions in the channel. You can pretty much copy a Dragon Link version and put some Dragonmaids in and you'll still have the same result, but still I think a lot of people do not like doing this. Every Dragon deck has become pretty much the same, using Fiber, using Romulus to go in Phalanx and Linkross and all that usual stuff, but this is something different. This is something that actually plays the way it's supposed to be played and not like every Dragonmaid deck ever. So yep, if you enjoyed this video, guys, please give it a thumbs up. It helps us a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming videos, and we'll see you next time.